Hi everyone, and thank you so much for joining me, Costa, on News MTV, and this is the agenda. Well, for the past 20 years, the opposition, the MDC, has suffered from the split disease, and this has left many people doubting its capacity to gain state power. To discuss the recent power squabbles and the Supreme Court judgment, my guest for today is MDCT Chairman Morgan Komichi. Mr. Komichi, I must welcome you to the agenda.
Thank you so much, Costa. Thank you.
Let me start by jumping straight into what you said last year at the MDC Alliance Gweru Congress. And I quote, "I will never abandon the revolution. I will never abandon you." This we are referring to MDC Alliance supporters. "And I will not leave my young men." And I guess again you were referring to Nelson Chamisa. 1 year later, this is now a different story. What happened?
Thank you so much, Costa. I will never abandon the struggle. I will never leave the people. I will never leave my leader if he respects the party constitution. I was extracting this from the way I had lived with Morgan Tsvangirai, whom I served so well for almost 18 years. My loyalty is unquestionable, but it must not be taken for granted. I don't then sacrifice constitutionalism and democracy for purposes of loyalty. I have demonstrated that.
What do you mean, Senator, when you say your loyalty shouldn't be taken for granted? What do you mean?
That is what people might actually misjudge me, that I'm a loyal cadre. Fact that I might even tolerate when things go wrong. When things go wrong, I stand up and express my feeling, and I advise. So what actually happened in the MDC has been a violation of the party constitution from as far back as 2016. And there's been disputes in the party among party members and organs. And whenever disputes arise in the party and people don't agree on a common solution, the courts are there to resolve those disputes. The first dispute actually came on the appointment of the vice presidents of Nelson Chamisa and Elias Mzuri in 2016 by my late president, Bowa Tsvangirai. It was challenged by Murumoga in 2017, but on technicality, it did not. It didn't go on merit on trial on merit. It was like thrown away because he couldn't prove that he was a member of the party.
Did you support Murumoga during that time?
Do you know what I did during that time? I sat down with President Tsvangirai after having checked the party constitution. And I advised President Morgan Tsvangirai that the appointments were illegal, were unconstitutional. If he was still alive, you could stand with me on that point. I advised him. Actually, I don't want to say, Kwavari President Tsvangirai, do you know if this goes to court and is held on merit, you lose a case to a street kid?
And what did he say?
He actually acknowledged. I even referred to Murumoga as a street kid. Then I said the whole president of the party, he would be humiliated. Those were my advice. At the same time, I did not keep quiet, but I don't apply megaphone strategies.
Then post that incident, and we saw you supporting Nelson Chamisa when he rose to power, and there were a lot of questions, people saying he didn't follow the constitution, but you supported him. Why did you do that?
Remember, when President Tsvangirai died, the party had 3 vice presidents. Although they had been illegally appointed in 2016, there was no court challenge that had disqualified them. By the time Morgan Tsvangirai died, there were 3 vice presidents, according to us: Nelson Chamisa, Madam Thokozani Kupe, and Honorable Elias Mzuri. In 2018, there was no court challenge. The court challenges had been thrown away. So they were, in my face, legitimate vice president. So there was no way we could do. There was no constitutional part of the constitution which described how the three vice presidents would do, then which one would come to
succeed
becoming
in any event.
president. There was nothing. So in such a situation where the constitution is silent and there's no a clause in the constitution.
What do you think would have been the reason for Morgan Tsvangirai to add two more vice presidents when Thomas Zanukuopa was already there?
Let me just finish off the first question. When there is no clear clause in the constitution which describes how should do a certain process, section 18 of our constitution, which covered for commissions and omissions, authorizes the National Council to make a decision. So on that particular day, when we had three vice presidents that were all equal in terms of the status, the constitution was correct to then sit down and say Nelson Chamisa should act. It was constitutional on that particular day. So I was not wrong.
So when did it change?
When the court challenge was then launched, and the court was then tried to explain these clauses in the constitution and disqualified us on what we'd done. We have to respect the rule of law.
Senator, I'm not getting it clear here. Here is a party constitution that you say is authorizes the National Council. Are you saying, are we on the same page? The National Council is the highest decision-making body in the party. Am I correct according to the constitution?
Let me explain to you.
Yeah.
On the very day President Morgan Tsvangirai died, MDC had three vice presidents.
Yes.
And there is no way it is stated in the constitution on who should then be able to act. Because the court challenge that had been launched by Mulimuka had not succeeded. So on the very day the president died, we had the three vice presidents. In such a situation where the people are in a dilemma on what to do, and there is no guiding section in the constitution, the National Council can make a decision. So the very day when it appointed Nelson Chamisa, on that very day, it was correct. Because they were not, Elias Mzuri and Nelson Chamisa were not disqualified. They were vice presidents in our situation. So the only way we could have resolved that conflict was to use the National Council. But however, when the court ruling came, it disqualified Nelson Chamisa and Elias Mzuri and left Madam Coupe, the legitimate vice president. That is why we are now going through that now. We are resolving the matter.
Well, I understand this is Elias Mashavira from Gokwe who challenged Nelson Chamisa's legality to, as a legitimate leader of the MDC, but you did not support him when he was raising an illegality. Why didn't you support him?
You wanted me to go on top of the mountain?
No, I'm saying you didn't assist him when he was challenging this illegality. Why didn't you? Because you are now the beneficiaries.
No. People can assist in many ways. I was sympathizing with him. I could not have probably material support, but in terms of the sympathy, I was sympathizing with him. Because after having advised my former president that the appointments were illegitimate, I understood that we had gone wrong.
So you supported,
we wanted to resolve the matter constitutionally. I sympathized with him. He was correct. He was very much correct. Even if you take the constitution as it stands now and read it, any normal person who can read cannot dispute it. It's very clear that we messed up. Collectively we messed up. And we must correct it. Really, it's not ready to say, but we messed up. We made a mistake. As leaders, we must agree. As leaders, we must be humble enough to say, let's go and correct what we messed up.
I'm still not satisfied here because after Mashavira, I remember the High Court ruled in his favor, and you did not support him. You still went on and participated in the MDC Alliance Congress after the High Court judgment.
I hear you. I hear you. I think I've said it before. That soon after, remember, I was one of the respondents.
Yes.
MDC respondents, key respondent actually. So my name was in the courts. So when we got served by the High Court judgment in March last year, I took the High Court judgment, I took it and I read it and I understood it. And I accepted and agreed. I went on to call some of the close senior leaders that I could tell. I've always said I called in Honorable Wende, Honorable Morrison Jai, Honorable Jibaya, Honorable Edmo Chizia. And we sat down in my office and we discussed the High Court judgment. And I explained the way I had understood. And I told them we must go for external Congress. We must actually postpone the May Congress because we'll be embarrassed. Because trying to appeal against this judgment is a sheer waste of time. I had taken my constitution and read section 921. I had taken my constitution and read section 64441.
So they refused
and I was confused. They actually agreed. These four gentlemen. They agreed with me.
So who refused?
We actually then from there we booked an appointment with the then president, and went to his chambers to discuss with him. When we went to the chambers, we sat down around this table and I presented the case. And we advised him. I even advised that if we are to go for the May Congress, we would be embarrassed when you lose the appeal because he was for the appeal. We did explain. He is a lawyer. So he then called in another lawyer.
I do appreciate it. I do appreciate it.
Listen. We called it he called it Tabanumbo. He came in. And Tabanumbo was holding what he termed 11 areas of dispute which he had identified from the High Court judgment. And he said, I will appeal against it. Have you ever argued with the doctor, my friend? When you're not a doctor yourself? Have you ever argued with the lawyer when you're not a lawyer? You can express your view, but they will not tolerate it, they will not take it. So we did our part. We actually warned that this appeal will not succeed.
Senator, there's something that I do not agree with you is you saw that this High Court was supposed to be upheld, wasn't it?
Yes, of course.
And then you proceeded and participated in the Congress on the back of this judgment that you knew very well. Why did you do that?
One of the things that people differ in how we resolve conflicts. There's no one method. In conflicts, there are several ways of dealing with conflicts. That's why they even say there are so many ways of killing a cat. It's not only one way. I knew very well that, because I had already mentioned it. So I wanted to see the process going on, understand it, so that when I then sit down today and say, guys, I advised you, I'm not going to be talking from the terraces. I'm talking from the experiences of what I've actually seen. And I stand here with my pride that what I told people was correct. Now when I'm calling for the correction of what we did, I'm speaking with confidence.
For someone who sat on an illegality for all this time, pretty much I put it upon you that this is not the character or the attitude of what Zimbabwe is looking forward to, because assuming that we have gained state power and identify an illegality and then you sit on it, you don't challenge it. Surely this is not the character that Zimbabwe will need at this particular time.
You are going to blame all women and men that stay in marriage for 2-3 years while they're being abused. You are going to blame them the way you're asking questions. Yet you don't know that those women and men will have tried their best within their homes to resolve the problem using engagements and advice.
Look, your reality is very unquestionable.
And when the women come out and say, cause that when they abuse her, you then blame them. This is what you are doing to me. You should actually feel sorry for the woman who stayed in the marriage for 5 years. She was trying to make sure to make things work. She was trying to advise and correct the husband and relatives so that the marriage would succeed. You don't have to blame a woman for sticking to the marriage in order to correct internally. I was correcting internally. I've shown you with evidence. I've shown you that I was talking to so and so and so and so. And I was trying to correct the whole situation in my party. I love my party so much because I cannot then let my party be destroyed because of certain individuals. What I'm here for, my friend, is the struggle of the people of Zimbabwe. What I'm here for is the MDC as a party. That's what I mean. I'm not here for Costa, for Peter, for Johnny. No, don't mistake me for that. So when I stayed in for the last 2 years, I was trying to correct things internally.
We are raising a very serious allegation here that you were abused. Who was abusing you?
The people of MDC were being abused. When people were advising to follow the constitution and they were not being listened to, they were being abused. Until the court had to intervene and call for justice. That is what we're talking about here. We're not talking about individuals. We're looking at systems that will not respect the rule of law and constitutionalism. Systems that will not respect the people of the organization. Systems that will not respect the institutions. This is what we're talking about. I'm separating individuals, my friend. At this juncture where I'm talking about here, I'm looking at the bigger picture. I'm looking at the people of Zimbabwe. Should I keep quiet because I'm loyal? Should I keep quiet because I'm a quiet person when people are suffering? No. I've demonstrated the Zimbabweans in my political life. When Mugabe abused the Zimbabweans by rigging elections in 2008, I was arrested for 6 months because I stood against that. In 2013, when people wanted to rig election through the ballot paper, I stood up against that. In 2018, when Emmerson Mnangagwa wanted to declare results that were not free and fair to me, I stood up against the results. I declared to the whole world that the results were fake. So why should they not stand up now when Nelson goes wrong? Nelson is not being fired from the MDC. He's being corrected by the courts. We must meet as a family, sit down as a family, and do what we didn't do. Our constitution is very clear. Let's go to the extraordinary Congress. He might actually win. Who knows? He's a popular young man. He might actually win. There's nothing. There's no conflict between me and Nelson. We are still able to
recently, Senator, you have gained the ZANU-PF tag, and I'm wondering how we are going to shake off that. But before that, let me just find out, what does the Supreme Court judgment mean to you? What does it mean?
This Supreme Court judgment is just a repetition of our constitution. What is Supreme Court judgment is not, there's nothing new in the Supreme Court judgment. They quoted the clauses that we have here, Section 441 and Section 9211. And said, go and do what you guys wrote and adopted at your Congress. And your guiding book, which you have been using to regulate your own affairs. Simply go and do that. The Supreme Court judgment did not come out with anything new. So it is right at this particular moment. We don't want to have this kind of an excuse of say the giving the blanket cover and say the courts are wrong. 2 days ago,
the reason why I wanted to find out from you is we have seen the 4 of the MDC MPs being recalled from Parliament. So I wanted you to juxtapose that the Supreme Court judgment. Does it instruct anyone to recall MPs? That's what I wanted to find out from you. Does it clearly specify that?
No. It is this constitution which then gives the powers to the leadership and the members of the party to deal with people that go on the wrong path. Section 10A. Let me read it for you, so that you can actually understand for yourself, so that you can move away from these speculative statements that you hear people are saying. Section 510A, which is the termination of membership. Membership of the party shall be terminated if a member of the party joins or supports a political party other than MDC. Termination of membership in these circumstances shall be automatic.
Okay.
This is what was used. So these gentlemen and ladies who were then pulled out of the parliament were indicating supporting interest of a party other than MDC.
No, but they participated in the election. They contested the MDC alliance.
No. That MDC alliance was just a trade name. Just the use of the
trade name with a head, right?
The use of the trade name can be used in anything. The party is guided. The party is defined by the
Constitution. A trade name with a head.
The party is defined by the Constitution.
A trade name with a head.
I don't know what you are trying to say, but what I'm saying, the party with the Constitution, and the Constitution defines the name of the party. And the question I'm holding this to today, it defines our party as MDC, not MDC Alliance. So the alliance part of it is a election trade name, just like the T that we used to have.
Yeah.
We never had a party called MDC.
My observations
are that.
My observations are that you are very passionate about the movement. You are very passionate about Zimbabwe being rescued from the jaws of poverty. You are very passionate about that. But surely to recalling MPs from parliament surely is not a sign that you are now a devotee of the movement.
I'll come to that answer. We never had a called party MDCT. It was a trade name. Just like the MDCA is a trade name to distinguish us from confusing voters.
Yeah.
The constitution tells us whom we are. We are MDC.
So tell me about a voter who went into a voting booth and ignored MDCT, because this was with Thokozani Kupe. We agree with this. This was with Thokozani Kupe, and he clearly avoided Thokozani Kupe on the T. And now all of a sudden, the Kwadana voter is now being told that no, this guy participated as MDCT. Because people were choosing, voters were choosing to say, I don't want this T, I want the alliance. That must be fraud.
It's not fraud at all.
It's the law.
We explained to them that we're not moving with A. We explained to them.
Yeah.
Just like in 2008, when we had a problem with Joshua Mulu, we explained to them that we are not moving from MDC as a trade name to MDCT. They followed. When we had a challenge with Madam Kupe, with the T, we explained to them we are not moving to MDCA. So that there's no. So this time around, we'll explain to them again. But don't forget, these people are still tied up to MDC as a party. Not to the A's. They followed MDCA because they knew that behind MDCA there's MDC.
Here's an opportunity, Senator, to clarify another item here. Now, what is being discussed in the forums right now is that Thokozani Kupe has got now influence, power over two entities. She has got power over the MPs that entered into parliament through her name, through her party. And these are the MPs who also entered into parliament through MDC Alliance. And Thokozani Kupe now has got powers over those two groups. How is that happening? Can you clarify? Because these are the questions that are hanging out there.
What is the confusion there? The MDC members all respect
the confusion is my Kupe waka participate in the election. Vane ma MPs are in parliament. Kune ma MPs akapinda via MDC Alliance ticket. Asima Kupe bakutonga ma MPs ese aya. No confusion iriko.
No nesa kana ngasatadzira mutemo. You are caught outside the law. You have to respect the law. Then takaziva takameka sure that tina kuchikora mutemo. Taka follow constitution yedu. This confusion will not be there. Now we are law-abiding citizens of Zimbabwe. We are able to fit within the laws of Zimbabwe. And the laws have said, Jamakaita Jose, Vachamisa, Jamakaita Jose, Ningiri Madam Kupe, Jamakaita Jose, Nakomichi, Jamakaita Jose, Namonzora, Jiri, illegal. So we must be able to fit within the boundaries of the law and comply with the law. It is actually achievable. So there's no, we have not been separated from each other. Tanziva na MDC and ndaimundogara pasi mugaziya zvinhu zvenyu zvamakaita zvose zvemadam Kupe zvakaita ona kupochamisa zvose zvinofanira kuenda muMDC family muhome resolve. So hapana confusion pano. Members ari muparliament ari kuona the majority akasekondwa neMDC yavatsvangira MDCT yatatita nayo kupinda alliance agreement.
I want to repeat this. I want to repeat this.
So upon confusion. So what we are simply doing is we are coming together as MDC members and we move Nama MP. But choice now MP.
You are not coming together, but you are recalling other people.
No, we're not.
How do you achieve unity when
a person has decided to go astray? The Constitution guides us. Otherwise, if we were talking, we would have recalled everybody.
But they are speaking openly. I can give you examples of a number of MPs who have said, no, our party is alliance. Why are you not are you going to recall them again?
Yes. We are going to make sure that people follow the law. Yeah. We are making sure that they follow the Constitution.
So you're going to recall
we are not here to wield axes and guillotines to ask the people. But we want people, we are advising the people to follow the law. We advise the people to respect their constitution. If then someone goes there, we will be left with no choice but to deal with the person according to the constitution. But we must not be like as an objective to expel MPs. It's not it. We must have the patience to explain to them, to engage them. Do you know that for the last 2-3 days, I've been actually engaging so many members of parliament and explaining to them that they need to respect the law, respect the constitution. So we are doing that. So we are engaging people and they are understanding. As leaders, we must be able to manage the conflict. There is a conflict really. I don't disagree with that. But as leadership, we must show leadership. Leadership is about influencing people positively.
But surely leadership,
we are doing that.
The true leadership that will seek to unite the movement would not be seen you recalling MPs from parliament. Surely that is not a characteristic.
If we were so careless, is what to put it, we could have actually expelled almost more than half of them. But we will not do that. And we are engaging them. We are not showing leadership. We are not showing direction. Remember, there was a dilemma on who is who. Remember, the Sheldon Wende wrote a letter to Parliament to expel Morgan Komichi and Douglas Monzola. It's like somebody who's trying to shoot you with a gun. What do? You also shoot back, isn't it?
But let's back.
So that had to be done to define where the authority is. And the people that were then called really were the leaders of causing division in the party.
So
the leaders who were
the Supreme Court judgment.
The leaders that were actually forcing people to sign up.
If you try to sit together, as a party after the Supreme Court judgment, if you try to engage all these other guys,
do you know that soon after my announcement in the Supreme Court, I've been castigated, threatened with my life, people trying to even eliminate me.
Who threatened you?
People even trying to put in gays
who threatened
my life. People that were opposing to the rule of law in constitutionalism. We don't need to mention names in these public forums because we want to achieve peace. But that actually happened. So if I had actually gone to the harvesters, I could have been murdered by some youth.
So you got youth who are capable of killing people.
So when some people, when they feel challenged, other people don't want to use their minds. They actually go on to an extent of causing, of actually abusing it and threatening. That should
why are they threatening?
I don't know. Remember, there are some youth that do not tolerate any other views.
This is the part that you saved more than 15 years.
This is what we're correcting now. We want to make sure that we go against that.
After 15 years.
We don't want that. We don't want that. And we don't believe in that. There are certain youth that do not respect the rule of law. There is certain youth that can be abused to cause violence. So we cannot be careless to say when things like this happen, you don't even check.
Let's explain another item here, the issue of the extraordinary Congress, which is our major discussion. In terms of term limits, because we know Morgan Tsvangirai's term was supposed to expire in October 2019. So what happens now?
We don't want to discuss the court ruling. Those things were held in the court, and the court outcome is now a public document.
No, I'm speaking about the extraordinary Congress.
Yes,
we want to elect a substitute.
Yes, we don't want to go back to what was ruled by the courts. We don't want us to start interrogating what was already discussed. Let's talk about what the Supreme Court judgment has said. Let's not question the integrity of the High Court judgment.
No, I didn't.
We want to say.
I didn't question that. Specifically, I'm saying Morgan Tsvangirai's term was expiring in October 2019. His term was expiring.
Those things were dealt with by the Supreme Court. Those things were dealt with.
This is what I'm asking.
But the Supreme Court has said, go to the extraordinary Congress within 3 months from the outcome of the judgment. This is what that is what we're supposed to be focusing on. And if Madam Kupe cannot, by any other constraints, be able to call for a Congress within those 3 months, the national chairperson will call in the 4th month. This is what we should focus on. not what was already debated by our lawyers. Our experts were there in the courts, the judges were there in the courts. They had all those arguments of expiry of Mugen Tsvangirai's term, whatever, they had them. And they concluded that, okay, we've heard this, but ultimately, Congress, because you cannot say, after having raped a woman, and she takes you to court and you are sentenced for 50 years in jail. When you are in Ishkurubi, then you say,
that would be said.
That would be said, because you will be trying to ignore the pain that you caused them. Mm-hmm. So they caused it to take us that way. But no, a lot of pain that was caused, the abuse that was done when you were doing all these things, and I'm the corrector within the 90 days and the fourth month if there's any problem. So this is where we are focusing now. Mm-hmm. So if we are to debate the Congress, let's debate the 3 months that were given and the fourth month that were given to deal with this matter.
Yeah, maybe before we delve much into the Congress issue, there is something that the public have been questioning on social media, and it's one of the things that I identified and observed myself. When you arrived at the Supreme Court on the 31st of March, you seem to have a prepared statement. Were you aware of the judgment?
What judgment would I get prepared for that particular day? I've told you in my previous discussion with you that I advised my own leaders then in April last year that we are going to be losing the Supreme Court judgment in the outcome. The appeal, we're going to lose them. The appeal will not win the appeal, because to me it was so simple, it was so clear. I'm not a draft, by the way. I can also read, although I'm not a lawyer, but I can also read with ABBA to get that timer.
So you to prepare the statement in advance.
Do you know if you want to know this? Do you know the then president of MDC, Comrade Chamisa, actually went around the country 4 weeks before the court judgment, denouncing the outcome of the Supreme Court. He addressed all the 10 provinces. He addressed all members of parliament. He even called all councillors in the country, more than 500 councillors in the council, to address them, denouncing the Supreme Court judgment. Even warning people that Thokozani will not put her foot at the harvest house. And he knew about that. So anyone who is intellectually above average would tell the outcome is not.
What did you say to him?
What did you say? Is not favorable. He was already denouncing the Supreme Court judgment.
You didn't tell him?
No. Why would I waste my time when I had done that before and he had not listened to it? So should I really continue to advise and explain somebody does not want to listen to the point? So really that's so anyone could tell. It was no longer a secret thing in MDC that 90% probability chances are that the outcome would be against the us. So really anyone with the basic management knowledge should be able to prepare for a situation.
Definitely, we want to give our viewers an opportunity to ask questions, but maybe before that, we want to explain something regarding the preparedness to extra Congress. How far have you gone now?
Before I go there, people always want to condemn and label anyone who stands up and tries to share his own mind as an NPF person. You're trying to ask that question. You asked it and not answered. We had watched me who went away in 2005 when we had the problem of the constitution as well, and when they wanted to vote for Senate or not, he went away and
he was labeled ZANU-PF.
Labeled ZANU-PF.
You were part of the people who labeled him ZANU-PF.
In the sellout.
You were part of
we then had Comrade Beatty in 2014. He went away.
And you were part of the people.
And you were part of the culture. The culture which is not right.
You were part of this
culture. Is not right. Culture is not right. I don't agree with that culture. Come to Madam Kozani 2018. She was labeled ZANU-PF.
Again, you were also part. Don't exonerate yourself from this.
And today we are now standing on these issues. We are labeled ZANU-PF. But what is a good leader? It's a good leader is the one who accepts his wrongdoings. A good leader is the one who says, we are moving on the wrong track. Let us correct ourselves. A humble leader is the one who admits to the public, who is not shy to say, I want to correct myself. We are wrong here. We are going in the ditch. We must save our organization. We must save our struggle. We must save our people. This is exactly what I'm doing. But when they go hunting, they don't say, you cannot catch this animal because you didn't see light at the same time with me. The dogs would come together and fight, defend the territory, or fight the animal. This is what we're doing. So don't condemn people for not seeing light earlier than the others.
But there is a report
we don't need that.
There is a story in yesterday's Standard that says you are already in disarray. You seem not to be agreeing on who should.
No. The people of the party got the right, according to our constitution, to elect the leader. It's not about the leaders to impose themselves on the people. If they so decide to sit down and they agree on how they should stand, and agreeing among themselves and the people buy it, there's nothing wrong with that. But constitutionally, the people got the right to elect a leader. So we cannot say when people talk about being elected or electing, we say people are in disarray. They're not in disarray at all. When it's time where people are working together at the moment to prepare for the Congress, and the Congress will produce a leader through whatever method. If it's consensus, good luck. If it's by election, still good luck. So there's no disarray. People who are wishing bad luck to this whole process, they would want to say those words and say things are moving on. They are moving on.
Okay. So are we expecting a situation where you guys are going to work again with the likes of Nelson Chamisa, Nelson BT, Welshman, who is now...
No. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? The common objective that we have in politics is to destroy ZANU-PF. And if opposition political parties can come together and unite and form a formidable front to win power through an election, what's wrong with that? Remember in 2014, we came out with an alliance strategy, which we used to contest the 2018 election, MDC Alliance, Electoral Pact. And we garnered more votes than what we used to get before when we were MDC. We got more than 2 million from the strategies of the alliance and networks. So we don't rule out people. Morgan Tsvangirai himself is a great leader. He at one time hated Mmuye so much. At one time he hated it so much. But in 2014, he sat down with them and agreed to form an alliance. So who are we today to say Nelson Chamisa will not be able to work with him? Who are we today to say we cannot work with Madam Kupe? Who are we? We are here to save the interest of the Zimbabweans. And if we are to save the interest of the Zimbabweans, we must stop to be selfish. We must always look beyond our own personal interest and look beyond and see what people are doing. People have suffered in Zimbabwe. They need a solution to the economy of this country. We need a solution to the social crisis of this country. We need a solution to the political crisis of this country. We need people to go to work. We need people to be able to be treated in hospital where there's enough medicine. We need people to be able to get cash in banks. We need people to get fuel, not always stay in the queues. This is what we are driving at, some of us, personally me. I'm very passionate about that. I want the MDC to be part of the solution to the Zimbabwean crisis. Not to be part of the problem.
Zimbabweans have been fed with all this rhetoric pretty much for these past 15 or so years by the opposition, and this is exactly what we are still standing on. But let me just find out from you anyway. Are we going to see Morgan Komichi as the president of the MDCT after the extraordinary Congress?
It's not given. The people will decide.
Yeah, my question is, are you going to contest for the presidential
post? The people that advise me. If the people advise me to stand, why not? But it's not that I should really move around, canvas, force people. No, must allow democracy to take place.
But do you feel you're at the right position to lead the MDCT?
I've always been.
Supposedly, Madam Kupe wins the MDC presidency. What's the future of the opposition? What do you see happening in the opposition?
She's not going to put herself as the leader of the opposition.
I'm saying, suppose she wins.
People are going to vote for her. So if people are going to vote for her, therefore it means
this is the person who was rejected by the electorate just 2 years ago in an election, and she garnered less than 100,000 votes. Sure, that must be worrying you.
Is it really a rule that if a person gets less votes today, he will not get more votes tomorrow? Is that? We have got history in Africa and world over of leaders that started losing elections, but eventually they win. Popularity goes with time. It's not a fixed issue where you say if someone gets 1,000 votes today and the next election won't get 10,000 votes.
And this is the person that you have denigrated in the run-up to the 2018 elections in many political gatherings.
Like a Congress, it will be indication that she's popular. If she's voted by the people at the Congress, who are we to reject her? Who are we? We cannot make that decision for the people. Let the people themselves make the decision for themselves.
Would you agree with people that you say in such a scenario happens and then you don't have the intention to gain state power?
Why do you underestimate people like that? Why do you underestimate people? This is what people might actually say. But if a person is then voted, what would that mean? What would that mean? If she's voted by the people, therefore people have the confidence in her. If they don't have the confidence in her,
do you have confidence in her yourself? Do you have confidence in her?
Why not? Why should I judge people? As individuals, I should not judge people. The people should judge the person.
She must be your horse at this Congress, right?
She must be what?
She must be your horse.
No, the people's horse, if they so want.
Well, I'm going to look at our viewers if they have thrown any questions for now, and then I'm going to pick one or two and ask you. So let me just scroll down and look for the questions that our viewers would want you to answer. I'm not seeing any question. I'm not seeing any question. Our viewers, even though I don't agree with Nelson Chamisa, this is Keith Namoinesu. Even though I don't agree with Nelson Chamisa's decision to appeal to the Supreme Court judgment, I still believe there is no justification on the court's ruling in saying Kupe is now the interim leader. This is Keith Namoinesu. What would you respond?
Yeah, thanks so much, Namoinesu. Mike Kupe is now the interim leader for a period of 3 to 4 months. The court was very clear. It actually catered for your worries and concern. If you don't approve her leadership. But we're going to be guided by our own constitution, the party constitution, which says the vice president acts until the end of that Congress. So Madam Kupe, she's there to act for that period. You need to at least to accept that when a court rules something, and it is actually be sensitive to your worries and needs. Actually, the constitution says within 12 months. The constitution, within 12 months. But here we've got a Supreme Court that says 3 months. So we should be able to accommodate that situation, be able to work together. Because this is about the rule of law and constitutionalism. Our party constitution. We're not given a new constitution by the Supreme Court. We must abide by our own constitution. And let us be patient and organize the rest of the Congress.
So look, that pushes us again back to our initial question, partly, where we are saying Nelson Chamisa participated in the 2018 election as an illegitimate leader. Is that so?
Yes.
So what happens now? Does that not clarify the whole election outcome?
The election of the government.
The whole election.
No,
you have an illegitimate candidate here participating in the election. What happens in the rest of the election?
The election is a different matrix. He was not the only one who participated.
So you
remember there were 23
other
contestants. Really, it's a different thing altogether. Probably if he had got state power, someone would have challenged it. But now he did not get state power. So there's no qualms about that.
Senator, can you just repeat? Are you saying Nelson Chamisa participated in the 2018 election as an illegitimate leader of the MDC?
Yes, of course. Yes, of course. Because the We knew and he knew.
So that does not affect the whole election outcome?
No.
Doesn't?
He knew that we did not do the extra of that Congress. Don't forget that he's a lawyer. He knew that we should follow the constitution. And through whatever mind he had by that time, isn't it? I think he knew it because he's a lawyer, very intelligent enough. He knew that we would not follow the constitution. So it was a trial and error approach to things, and like someone who like what you know.
I'm still not convinced on my own here. Is you're saying during the election, in an election, you nullified the other party of the election. You're saying no, this candidate was participated illegally, but you still keep on in saying that election still stands.
Don't forget that the people that run elections, government elections, they got nothing to do with the parties. They don't have nothing to do with parties. So at the government level, they did their job using the National Constitution and the Electoral Act. And the Electoral Act has got nothing to do with the party or whatever, political party status. No, they don't have to do that. Unless and until the dispute is brought to the courts.
We are talking about men who got more than 2 million votes here.
Let us stop to be sentimental about things.
Yeah.
Let us be factual and being legalistic in the situation. Yes, of course, he got the votes. No one disputes that. Many factors contributed to the more than 2.2 million. Many factors contributed. His own person as a person also contributed as well, and party programs contributed as well. The death of Morgan Tsvangirai contributed as well. The many people that campaigned in various places contributed to the totality of the vote. We don't dispute that, but we don't sacrifice that for the purposes of convenience. We must follow the right procedure. We must follow the law and the constitution. If we are then caught by the law that we were not wrong, we must accept and correct that. What are we saying here? We are saying the Congress is open to everybody. This is open to Nelson Chamisa. Let's go together with him. If Nelson Chamisa is going to be re-elected, plus his popularity, we would gain more votes in future. No one is saying Nelson Chamisa cannot go to the Congress. There is no a battle between the people and Chamisa. No, we are only differing on appreciating that we should go to the Standard Congress. That is where the difference is. So if he comes in, as we are all wishing, and he gets elected, he now stands in a position where no one will criticize him in terms of constitutionalism. You see, the challenge that we have now, we are now certificated as an illegitimate leadership, certificated by the Supreme Court. We now have a tag of illegitimacy. Remember, for the last 2 years, we've been fighting against Mnangagwa as an illegitimate president. Where would we stand now in terms of the morals of our organization to then say, Mnangagwa, you're not legitimate, when there's a certificate on our forehead of illegitimacy? So we're saying, let's go to the Congress and clear the certificate of illegitimacy which is on our forehead, so that we can fight our battle till clean.
So from your side, President Mnangagwa is now legitimate.
President Mnangagwa, we challenged him to the Concord.
Yes.
And the Concord gave an outcome. And the outcome was that he's the president. Legally, he's legitimate. Legally.
Now I'm asking both.
Yes.
Even after that ruling, you were among the people who denigrated him, who said you don't recognize you. So I'm asking you now, is he now legitimate?
He is also legitimate in terms of the constitution or the courts of Zimbabwe. He is legitimate in terms of the courts of Zimbabwe. If we are to stick to the rule of law and we are stick to constitutionalism, remember we challenged Mnangagwa to court ourselves, and the outcome is there.
And what I'm saying is, even after that court ruling in 2018 August, you still proceeded and denigrated him. You were saying you are illegitimate. You are the very person who was standing at political gatherings denigrating him after that court ruling.
My friend, we have reached a new chapter. We said, if you are a leader and you make a mistake, you must able to accept that you've made a mistake and be able to correct yourself. I've said, don't stick to points that are not factual. Stick to points that would make things proceed in a positive way. The rule of law is one of our key principles and value. The Supreme Court ruled in favor of Mnangagwa, and it will be a waste of time for us to continue fighting against our own courts. What kind of people would we be? When we win judgments, we celebrate. When we don't lose judgments, we condemn the courts. 2 days ago, the Chamisa team won a court interdict. In the celebration in the whole country. And when Job Scala was vindicated in Mashugu by the High Court, we celebrated. We said the courts were right. So we lack consistency. Yes, of course, let's fight for the independence of the judiciary. Let's fight for the independence of ZEC. Let's fight for the independence of all institutions, government institutions. Let's fight for them. Let's improve on it. Let's do everything to make sure that Zimbabweans will enjoy more benefits.
Lastly, Morgan Komichi wins the MDCT presidency at the Extraordinary Congress. Are you going to join Poland?
No. Not as a person. I'll be guided by the party. We will be guided by the party. Whoever will not be standing Morgan Komichi, whoever wins as the party president will be guided by the party. The party will sit down, make consultations, not only party members, by the way, consult even journalists like you, consult chiefs, consult church leaders, consult ordinary people, consult party members, move across the whole country, being Gokwe, being in Mount Darwin, Chipinge, consulting people whether it's a viable thing to do to engage the government, not necessarily Poland as such, but to engage the government. If the people come out with the support, with the feeling that you need to engage the government, who are we to refuse?
Are we going to see a government of national unity?
The people are getting advice through those consultations.
If they say yes,
you cannot go against the people's will, because you are here to serve the people. We don't want leaders that serve their own interest. We don't want leaders that look for their job. We want people that look for the job of the people. Let the leaders benefit after the people have benefited. I would want to benefit from the struggle of Zimbabwe when the entire population of Zimbabwe have benefited, when companies are functioning well, when people are able to get money in banks, when people are getting medicine, people have got good transport, people have got fuel in the garages, people are able to send their children to school, when people are able to live comfortably, then they can say to the leadership of MDC, thank you so much, you have saved us. Then we can benefit. We don't want leadership to benefit first. This is why I differ with many people. We don't want leadership to benefit first. The people of Zimbabwe must benefit first. So I'm here with other members of the party to fight for the interest in the good life of the Zimbabweans.
Senator, it was nice talking to you.
Thank you so much.
Unfortunately, we can't shake hands.
No, because of the COVID.
Because of the COVID.
We must be able to manage that. But I want to thank you so much for that. Let's continue to interact and talk to the people. As I said, the decision taken by Moses to move Wanawe Zimbabwe, so Wanawe Israel from Egypt was not an easy one. He had problems to, even his own brother and sister, Miriam, fought Moses. They did not understand what Moses was intending to do. But Moses had a vision. Just imagine the hard life of Egypt and the good life that he portrayed in Canaan, with flowing honey and milk. That is what drove the people of the Israelites to move throughout the deserts, throughout the forests, throughout the rivers to go and reach Canaan. This is what we are today, trying to tell another Zimbabwe, you were used to the abnormalities of our political life. We are now introducing a new legacy, a legacy that was left by President Morgan Tsvangirai to take us to Canaan.
Here you have it, our viewers, and thank you so much for following us, and thank you so much for being our all-time friends to News MTV. And until next time, continue to follow this program, and always do follow us on Twitter at newszimbabwe.com, and continue to like our Facebook page, newszimbabwe.com. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel, Newzim TV. Until next time, for me, Costa is fine.